students, welcome to the e-learning program. This is the first lesson in our unit on energy transformation. In this unit, we discuss about two topics. The first one is respiration, and the second one is photosynthesis. You know respiration. You learned about respiration in grade 9. Respiration is a process by which energy is produced. So we'll see how ATP energy is produced by respiration. We also discuss about types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Under photosynthesis process, we define the term photosynthesis. We also describe the two stages of photosynthesis, the light dependent stage and the light independent stage. We also compare and contrast the C3 plant, those plants that produce a 3-carbon compound, and the C4 plant, those plants that produce a 4-carbon compound. And finally, we'll see the CAM plant. So today, we'll learn about the structure of ATP and also the adaptive mechanism of ATP as an energy source and how ATP is produced. So let's start by defining the term ATP. What does ATP mean? What is ATP like? ATP is adenosine triphosphate. The full name of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That means a nucleotide with base adenine, ribose sugar, and 3 phosphate groups. You know nucleotide. Nucleotide is the building block of nucleic acid. And each nucleotide of nucleic acid contains one of the 4 nitrogen base, namely adenine, cytosine, guanine, thymine, or uracil, in the case of RNA, and pentose sugar and phosphate group. So ATP is a phosphorylated nucleotide, a nucleotide which has additional phosphate group. When we look the structure of ATP, ATP looks like this. This is the structure of adenine molecule, adenine nitrogen base, which has a double ring and also called purine base. This is a ribose sugar, and this is 3 phosphate group 1, 2, 3. So when define the term ATP, ATP is a phosphorylated nucleotide, a nucleotide which has additional 2 phosphate group. And ATP is the energy currency of the cell. That means the energy which can be used our cells immediately, usable form of energy. Like the money which is found in your pocket, okay, the money which is found in your pocket can buy what you desire. Likewise, ATP is the energy currency of the cell. It's immediately spendable or usable. ATP provides us energy, and the energy will be released from ATP by breaking the high energy bonds found within the last 2 phosphate group. Okay, that means when the second and the third phosphate is broken down, that means when the bonds that holds the chemical energy that holds the third and the second phosphate is broken down, certain amount of energy is released. That energy is important for different purposes. So when ATP is hydrolyzed in water in the presence of ATP synthase enzyme, what is produced or what are produced? ADP plus phosphate plus energy. Adenosine triphosphate is converted into adenosine diphosphate, 2 phosphate group, because 1 phosphate is released, plus 1 phosphate plus energy. Okay, this energy. So it's a bidirectional process. When ADP plus phosphate plus energies are combined together, ATP is also produced. Look this cycle. This is ATP molecule. Adenine plus ribose sugar plus 3 phosphate group. When the third phosphate is cleaved, energy is released. When this P is clipped like this, certain amount of energy is released. And what is produced? ADP. This is ADP. Ribose sugar, adenine, and 2-phosphate group. When this on this ADP, additional phosphate group and energy is formed, ATP is made. ATP is made. So ATP is converted into ADP by releasing energy in the phosphate. When energy and the phosphate group is added on ADP, again ATP is produced. So this is the energy production mechanism from ATP molecule. How ATP is an adaptive role to this adapted to this role. Why ATP is preferable from all kinds of source of energy? Because energy, it releases energy in a relatively small amount, which is required by our cells. Okay? ATP can release a small amount of energy which can be required by our cell. So one reason why ATP is preferred from all types of source of energy. Second, it releases energy in a single step process. When ATP is converted into ADP plus phosphate, in one step process, ATP is produced. The third role, it is very available in cells. It can escape in a cell, it can escape from cell to cell. So all cells can obtain ATP energy from ATP molecule. That's the reason why ATP is adapted to its role. እንግዲህ ይሄ ነገር ኮንሰፕቱ ባጭሩ ምንድነው? ኤቲፒ ማለት ኒውክሊዮታይድ ሆኖ ልክ እንደ ዲኤንኤ እና አርኤንኤ ኒውክሊዮታይድ ሞሌኩላር ሆኖ ተጨማሪ ሁለት ፎስፌት ግሩፕ ያለው ማለት ነው። ሶስተኛው ፎስፌት ግሩፕ ላይ ያለው ሞሌኩል ሲተገንጥሎ ወይ ደግሞ ተነጥሎ ሲወጣ የሆነ ኤቲፒ ኤነርጂ ይፈጠራል። ኤቲፒ ደግሞ ተመራጭ የኢነርጂ ሶርስ የሆነበት ምክንያት ቅድም እንደጠቀስኩላችሁ ዋናዎቹ ሶስት ናቸው። ለምን ተመራጭ ሆነ? ለምንድነው እሱ ለኢነርጂ ሶርስ የሚያገለግለው ተብሎ ሲታሰብ፣ አንደኛ በጣም ሴሉ የሚፈልገው ሴላችን የተለያየ አማውንት ኦፍ ኤነርጂ ነው የሚፈልገው። ለምሳሌ ስፐርም ሴል ብዙ ኤነርጂ ይፈልጋል። ነርቭ ሴል ብዙ ኤነርጂ ይፈልጋል። ለምሳሌ መስል ሴል ብዙ ኤነርጂ ይፈልጋል ከሌሎች ሴሎች አንፃር። ስለዚህ ሴሎች የሚፈልጉትን ያህል ትንሽ ኤነርጂ የሚፈልገው ሴል ትንሽ ኤነርጂ፣ እያንዳንዱ ሴል የሚፈልገው ያን ብቻ ኤነርጂ እንዲያገኝ አስተዋጽኦ ያደርጋል ማለት ነው። እያንዳንዱ ሴል ኤነርጂ የሚያገኘው ከኤቲፒ ሲሆን እያንዳንዱ ሴል የሚያገኘው ኤነርጂ የሚፈልገው ያን ብቻ ኦቨርዶዝ የሚባል ኤነርጂ ያገኛል ማለት ነው። ሁለተኛው ይሄ ኤቲፒ ኤነርጂ ሪሊዝ የሚያደርገው በአንድ ስቴፕ ነው። በ3 በ5 በ10 ስቴፕ እንደ ፊዚዮሎጂካል ፕሮሰስ ሌሎች ሂደቶች ማለት ነው። በብዙ ስቴፕ ሲሆን በአንድ ስቴፕ ኤቲፒ ወደ ኤዲፒ እና ፒ ተለውጦ የሆነ ኤቲፒ ከውስጡ የሆነ ኤነርጂ ከውስጡ ይወጣል። ሌላው it is available in cells can escape። ሁሉም ሴሎች ኤነርጂ ማግኘት ይችላሉ። ይሄ ኤቲፒ እያንዳንዱ ሴል ጋር መድረስ ይችላል። ከዚህ ከኤቲፒ የሚወጣው ኤነርጂ እያንዳንዱ ሴል ጋር መድረስ ይችላል። that's why ATP is adapted to its function. The following process are examples of process that require energy from ATP molecule. What's the purpose of energy which is produced from ATP? 1. Energy is important to synthesize macromolecules such as protein. You know, the macromolecule protein requires energy. When amino acids are joined together in the form protein, energy is required. That energy is obtained from ATP molecule. So macromolecules, large molecules are made from small molecules. Macromolecules are made from monomers. So the joining of monomers to form polymers require an input of energy that is obtained from ATP molecule. Second, the energy obtained from ATP used as an active transport across plasma membrane. If you remember in cell biology, active transport is a mechanism by which that pumps substance from low concentration to high concentration with the expenditure of some amount of energy. For example, the exchange of ions across nerve cell or neural membrane requires an input of energy. That energy is obtained from ATP molecule. So active transport, such as absorption of mineral from the soil, such as the entry of ions or large molecules from outside into our cell, require an input of energy. That energy is obtained from ATP molecule. Second, muscle contraction. As you know, when you move from place to place, our muscle contracts and relaxes due to the presence of myosin and actin protein. In order to contract and relax our muscle, energy is required. That energy is obtained from ATP molecule. The third function of energy produced from ATP is for conduction of nerve impulse. If you remember in year 10, nerve impulse transmission requires an exchange of positive charge and negative charge. The outside of the membrane is naturally positively charged. The inside of the membrane of nerve is negatively charged. When that membrane or nerve cell receives certain impulse, the inside becomes positively charged and the outside membrane becomes negatively charged. The exchange of ions makes or allows the nerve impulse to transmit across the neural membrane. So the transmission of nerve impulse across neural membrane requires an exchange of ions. An exchange of ions requires an input of energy because ions are exchanged with the help of energy. That energy is obtained from ATP molecule. So energy made from ATP is important for conduction of nerve impulse transmission. And the last purpose of energy obtained from ATP is the initial reaction of respiration. As we said, respiration produces ATP energy. So before glucose is isomerized and converted into certain byproduct and produce certain ATP, energy is required as an activation process, activation energy. The energy required to start certain chemical reaction is known as activation energy. So every chemical reactions which are taking place in our cell, including respiration, requires an input of energy as starting of chemical reaction. That energy is obtained from ATP molecule. How ATP is produced in respiration? There are two pathways by which respiration can produce ATP. One, aerobic pathway, and second, the anaerobic pathway. እንግዲህ እዚህ ጋር ትንሽ ለመግለጽ ያህል እንዳልኳችሁ ATP ኢነርጂ ሴሎቻችን ሲፈልጓቸው የሚጠቀሙት አይነት ኢነርጂ ነው። ይሄ የሚመረተው ኢነርጂ ለብዙ ነገር ያገለግላል። እንዳልኩት አንደኛ ማክሮ ሞሌኩሎችን እና ፕሮቲኖችን ለመስራት አክቲቭ ትራንስፖርትን ለማከናወን አክቲቭ ትራንስፖርት ሁሉ ጊዜ ኢነርጂ ይፈልጋል። እንደምታውቁት መስላችን ኮንትራክት እና ሪላክስ ለማድረግ መስል ውስጥ ያለ ፕሮቲኖች ስራቸውን እንዲሰሩ አጌን ኢነርጂ ያስፈልጋል። ነርቭ ኢምፐልስ ትራንስሚት እንዲያደርግ ነርቭ ሴል ላይ እንዳልኳችሁ አሁንም ነርቭ ሴል ውስጥ ያሉ አየኖች ቦታቸውን ካልተለዋወጡ ሰኛ ላይ ስንማር ኢምፐልስ አይተላለፍም። ለዛ ፐርፐዝ ያገለግላል። ማንኛውም ኬሚካል ሪአክሽን ሴል ውስጥ የሚከናወነው ሬስፓይሬሽንን ጨምሮ የሆነ ኤነርጂ መጀመሪያ ይፈልጋል ሪአክሽን ለማከናወን። ስለዚህ ለዛ ፐርፐዝ የሚያስፈልገን ኤነርጂ ከምንድን የሚገኘው ከዚህ ከኤቲፒ ነው ማለት ነው። Energy can be produced by two ways, as I said, either by respiration either by aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration produces ATP by two ways. One, substrate level phosphorylation, and second, ATP synthase or oxidative phosphorylation. ይሄ aerobic respiration ATP የሚያመርተው ወደ 36 የሚያክሉ ATPዎች የሚመረቱት በኤሮቢክ መንገድ ነው። ቶታሊ ሴላችን ውስጥ ከአንድ ግሉኮስ ሞሌኩል 38 ATP ይመረታል። ሁለቱ በአናኤሮቢክ ነው የሚመረተው፣ 36ቱ ደግሞ በኤሮቢክ ሪስፓይሬሽን ይመረታል። ይሄንን በዝርዝር አንድ ባንድ እናየዋለን። በኤሮቢክ ሪስፓይሬሽን ATP ሲመረት ሁለት መንገዶች አሉ። Substrate level phosphorylation and ATP synthase or oxidative phosphorylation ይባላል። ይሄን አንድ ባንድ እናደርጋቸዋለሁ። ኦክሲጅን በመጠቀም የሚመረትና ኦክሲጅን ሳይጠቀም ግን ኦክሲጅን በመኖሩ ምክንያት የሚመረት ፕሮሰስ ሰብስትሬት ሌቭል ፎስፎሪሌሽን ይባላል። ሁለቱም ኤሮቢክ ናቸው። አንዱ ኦክሲጅን በመጠቀም ነው። አንዱ ደግሞ የመጀመሪያው ሰብስትሬት ሌቭል የሚባለው ኦክሲጅንን ሳይጠቀም ግን ኦክሲጅን ባለበት ኢንቫይሮንመንት ላይ ኤቲፒ ይመረታል። እስቲ ልንገራችሁ። ሰብስትሬት ሌቭል ፎስፎሪሌሽን ምን አይነት የኤቲፒ ፕሮዳክሽን ሜካኒዝም ነው? ATP is formed when another molecule, that means substrate, is able to transfer a phosphate group directly to ADP with no phosphate. Pi phosphate. The process is not catalyzed by any enzyme, synthase. That means, the process is not catalyzed by an enzyme, ATP synthase, rather by another enzyme, and only around 10%, around 2 ATP molecules, is produced in aerobic respiration. So, by substrate level phosphorylation, about 10% of the total ATP is produced. In the absence of ATP synthase enzyme, and also it does not require the addition of phosphate or ADP to produce ATP. See example ላሳያችሁ። ይሄ እዚህ ጋር የምታዩት 3 ካርበን ያለው ሞሌኩል ነው። 3 ካርበን ያለው ሞሌኩል ካርበን 1 ካርበን 2 ካርበን 3 3 ካርበን አለው እና እዚህኛው ካርበን ላይ ፎስፌት ግሩፕ አለው አዲሽናል ፎስፎ ኢንዶል ፓይሩቬት ይባላል። ለማንኛውም ይሄ ሞሌኩል ፎስፎ ኢንዶ ፓይሩቬት ይባላል። አንድ ፎስፌት አለው 3 ካርበን አለው። እዚህ ማሳየት ያለው ከዚህ ሞሌኩል ላይ ፎስፌት ዲተችቱና ትወጣና ከኤዲፒ ጋር ትዋሃድና ኤቲፒ ይሰራል። ይሄ ፎስፎ ኢንዶል ፓይሩቬት የሚባለው ሞሌኩል ፎስፌቱ ከላዋ ትወገድና ከኤዲፒ ጋር ይዋሃድና ኤቲፒ ይሰራል። ስለዚህ ፎስፎ ኢንዶል ፓይሩቬት የሚባለው ሞሌኩል ወደ ፓይሩቬት ተለወጠ ማለት ዝም ብሎ C3H6O3 ይሄ ሞሌኩል C3H6O3 ነው ያለው ወደዚህ ሞሌኩል ይለወጣል። ስለዚህ ፎስፌት የመጣው ከየትም ሳይሆን ከሆነ ሰብስትሬት ነው። ከዚህ ላይ ነው። ለምሳሌ ፎስፎ ኢንዶል ፓይሩቬት የሚባለው ሞሌኩል ፎስፌት አዘጋጀ ሰጠ ለማ ለኤዲፒ። ከዛ እቺ ፎስፌት እና ኤዲፒ ተዋሃደው ኤቲፒ ተመረተ። ምንም አይነት ኤቲፒ ሲንቴስ የሚባል ሳያስፈልግ ኦክሲጅን ሳያስፈልግ ዝም ብሎ ኤቲፒ የሚመረት ከሆነ በዚህ መንገድ ይሄ ምን ይባላል? the substrate level phosphorylation ይባላል። So when the phosphate group is detached and cleaved from the phosphoindole pyruvate, and when that phosphate reacts with ADP molecule inside cytoplasm of the cell and then form ATP molecule, this mechanism is known as substrate level phosphorylation. Around 10% of our cells, 10% of our energy is produced by substrate level phosphorylation. ሁለተኛው መንገድ ATP synthase mechanism ይባላል። በዚህ መንገድ የሚመረተው ወደ 90% የሚመረተው በዚህ መንገድ ነው። ATP synthase is an enzyme that's found in mitochondrial membrane and on chloroplast also, and produce around 80% of the ATP produced in our cells by aerobic respiration. Of the total amount of ATP produced by aerobic respiration, 90% is produced by ATP synthase enzyme, and 10% is produced by without this enzyme, and the process is called substrate level phosphorylation. So when ATP is produced in the presence of ATP synthase enzyme, it is known as oxidative phosphorylation, because this process requires additional, it requires the presence of use of oxygen. So respiratory substrates are organic molecules that can be respired. So respiration requires 3 things. 1, respiratory substrate such as glucose, proteins, fat or nucleic acid. The primary source of energy is glucose. If glucose is not present, our cells begin to use fat or lipid. If fat is absent or depleted, our cells begin to produce protein. If protein is depleted or absent, at last result, our cell begins to use nucleic acid. So the substrate molecules are required for respiration to occur. Second, respiratory enzymes are required. In the third, organelles. Can be cytoplasm, organelle, or mitochondria. So any respiration requires respiratory substrate such as glucose, proteins, fat, or nucleic acid, or respiratory enzyme and organelles. And organelles. Let's see aerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? Aerobic respiration is a type of respiration that requires oxygen, of course, and takes place in mitochondria of the cell. But this aerobic respiration occurs at 4 different stages, or it requires 4 stages. At the end of this 4 stages, about 36 ATP molecules are produced. The 4 stages of aerobic respiration are glycolysis, second link reaction, and third Krebs cycle, and fourth electron transport system or chemosmosis. After passing through these 4 processes, from one glucose molecule, around 36 ATP molecules are produced. Let's see the first one, glycolysis. What does glycolysis mean? Glycolysis means a splitting of glucose molecule. You know, glucose is a 6-carbon compound. It has a molecular formula C6H12O6. Glycolysis means a splitting of glucose molecule. This is the anaerobic stage of cellular respiration. Even though it is a part of aerobic process, but it is anaerobic stage. It does not require oxygen, and it takes place inside the cytoplasm of the cell. This glycolysis produces 2 net ATP molecules. At the end of glycolysis, 4 total ATP molecules are produced, but 2 ATP molecules are used as starting energy, as activation energy. Then 2 net ATP molecules are produced at the end of glycolysis. This glycolysis does not take place inside mitochondrial membrane. Why? Why it takes place in cytoplasm but not in mitochondrial membrane? Because, if you remember, glucose is transported across plasma membrane or membranes of cell by facilitated diffusion. In before we learned that. Facilitated diffusion is a type of diffusion that does not require energy but requires certain chemical or certain carrier proteins. But mitochondrial membrane does not have carrier proteins. So glucose cannot pass easily through mitochondrial membrane. So splitting of glucose molecule or glycolysis takes place first in cytoplasm. Glucose cannot pass through mitochondrial membrane as there is no carrier proteins on mitochondrial membrane, and as glucose is too large to pass through the mitochondrial membrane, and therefore glycolysis occurs inside the cytoplasm of the cell. So what happens to glycolysis? And how glucose produces pyruvate molecule ATP and NAD? The final product, glucose, during glycolysis process, one glucose molecule is converted into 2 pyruvate molecule. That means 2 3-carbon compound called pyruvate plus 2 net ATP molecule and 2 NADH molecules are produced. So at the end of glycolysis, these 3 molecules are produced. How glucose molecule produces 3 molecules at the glycolysis stage? So we'll see this in detail. Glycolysis results in 2 pyruvate molecules, 2 net ATP molecules, and 2 NADH molecules from 1 glucose molecule. So we'll see the important steps of glycolysis that eventually results in these molecules. Thank you very much for listening. Next time we'll see the process of glycolysis, the link reaction, the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport system. And finally summarize how 38 total ATP molecules are produced from aerobic and anaerobic respiration.